Well, I think it grew somewhat out of my exposure to my parents as storytellers. Dad and Mom both were crack storytellers, and I was always entranced by the stories they told, also by the stories that the neighbors told. Storytelling was a kind of community activity too. Mom and Dad knew all the Brer Rabbit stories and Brer Bear and Brer Fox and Brer Cooter, but they also had the stories of their own lives and of our own families, which they told to us as children. And somehow this fascinated me. And I wanted those stories to be written down. I wanted my daddy's stories and Mama's stories to be a part of the stories that I was reading in the books in school. And it seemed to me that I was going to school just for that purpose, to learn how to cross the T, where to put the comma and the period, so I could write these stories down. Now, somewhere along the line, the desire changed from writing stories to writing plays.
Yes.
And but the urge to communicate at that level, to be a storyteller, remained. And even now, my life before me, even as I talk to you about it, is divided into stories, and if they're convenient, I can tell you the story of my life without waking up. Just go through the stories that I've told my grandchildren 1,000 times.
Yes.
And roll one, roll two, roll the other. But those stories, which now, as I look back on, were extremely important, because it is from those stories that my parents fed me the antidote to what was happening when people poured syrup on my head. Now, what happened was that the stories were always a part of when the family got together around the table, dinner table, breakfast table. The stories would come naturally from Daddy or from Mama. And as I think back now, from what was in the stories and the way that they told them, they achieved a specific purpose, and that was this. They taught us by their stories how to accommodate ourselves to Jim Crow, how to laugh at ourselves and laugh at it at all times, and how not to let hate distort and disturb us. Family values, social values, ethnic values, some of which we were getting in school, some of which we were not, as I look back now, came to me in those stories. Now, I'm not sure that Dad and Mama sat down and said, we got to give these kids some stories to save them. They enjoyed telling the stories. But that is what those stories did to me. They enabled me not only to survive, but to have a little left over. And I wanted so much to write those stories down.